Hello guys and welcome back to this week's drawing of the week. This week you voted for a Mysterio picture over on Instagram, so again thank you very much for doing that, guys. We are now going to be getting on with the inking stage, as we always do, because it's Tuesday, and on Tuesdays we always ink the picture. On Monday we sketch this, and if you missed the sketch and how to sketch like this and how to draw this, check out that video in yesterday. Tomorrow we'll be tomorrow we'll be colouring this in. We will be using these sketchy pens here. I won't be using Crayola, that's just my inking pen. We might be using some of these brush pens as well, but we more likely, or definitely, will be using the double-sided ones. These are Copic markers. These are not Copic markers. See the difference in what they do tomorrow. But otherwise, let's get on with the inking, because today we're going to be using my fine line pen, which is the 7.0, my favorite pen, the one I always use. Basically, that's a pencil. This one here is more of a sketchy pen. It's a fluid ink. It's a ink that you can saturize and use over and over and over again. It's a Copic marker pen, so it will sort of evaporate. It won't sort of soak through. You can really get some good color and tones and stuff with these ones. And of course, this is black. You don't get a tone with black. It's just black. You can use black and black and black and sort of get different tones of black, I suppose, and it's just darker grays. But we will be just going around the outline of this today, as we always do, outlining this, putting in a few details and sharpening up a few details where it's needed, and where I think I just, I didn't do things properly, like this hand here. I really don't like it, but I don't think I'm going to do much better than that hand. I think it's the position of the arm is different to where the position of the hand is. But yeah, I've got a few details in, and as you can see, he has no face. I'm really glad of that, because I hate drawing faces. I don't mind drawing hands, but I've been using, just grab it over. I've been using this as a reference, as sort of it looked to sort of get the hand shape, and sort of again with the hand shape here, I took 2 fingers off. I should have probably put a whole hand. I still could, but yeah, I've been using this as like one of those when you buy those wooden things and you form them and you shape them. Well, I've got absolutely loads of figurines, so I never bought one of these wooden things. I got given one once, but yeah, you can put this in a few different poses. Same with all the Spider-Man that I've got, which is kind of what I use when I do dynamic poses. I'll put this in a pose like through it, and get him sort of working in a position that I want him to put him in. And yeah, I'll use that as a template. Bollocks to buying anybody's special artist stuff. I've already got it. It's called a figurine. Yeah, so like I said, we've been using this one here as sort of the template of what I kind of want to look like, and obviously using the film itself, and we sort of came up with this. And as you can see in the thumbnail, this is basically what I'm drawing. The thumbnail is basically what I tried to draw or how to go at, and hopefully I've not done too badly. Let me know in the comment section what you think, guys. But like I said, we're going to be inking this today, getting this done, and you guys can listen instead of me waffling, because I can't really explain how I'm inking it. I'll just tell you as I'm going along. So don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to see tomorrow's, and keep listening for some Spider-Man secrets. If you haven't seen the film yet, guys, there's going to be a little bit of a spoiler, but it's been about a week, guys, so where have you been? Go watch it. Let's get inking and listen to some secrets.
Spider-Man Far From Home is blowing people away at the box office, and the latest hit from Marvel Studios is chock full of inside references and Easter eggs that even the most hardcore fan might miss. Here's a spoiler-filled look at some small details you may have missed in Spider-Man Far From Home. In a cute running subplot throughout Far From Home, Peter's man in the chair and all-around best buddy Ned Leeds has a whirlwind relationship with Betty Brant, one of the other students on their school trip to Europe. They fall for each other on the flight across the Atlantic, become a couple, and then break up on the return trip. It's funny and cute.
That reminds me of my first solo. I had just finished my film called
Funny and cute, though, are 2 adjectives fans never would have applied to the relationship between Ned and Betty in the comics. Originally one of Peter's love interests, Betty Brant ended up marrying Ned Leeds, who in the comics was an older reporter at the Daily Bugle, where the two worked. The marriage was difficult, with multiple separations and affairs. Like their movie counterparts, the relationship ended in Europe, but under very different circumstances. Set up as a scapegoat for the crimes of the supervillain known as the Hobgoblin, Ned was murdered by assassins in Berlin, leaving Betty a widow. Yikes. One of the main plot lines in Far From Home is Peter Parker's crush on fellow student MJ. He has a whole plan laid out to tell her how he feels. Only things keep getting in the way. Things like, for instance, supervillain attacks.
I had this plan with this girl that I really like, and now it's all ruined.
But there's one other stumbling block, Brad Davis, another schoolmate who also is romantically interested in MJ, and will do anything in his power to stop his rival. So it will come as no surprise that Brad, played by Remy He, is actually straight out of the comics. Well, one comic anyway. Amazing Spider-Man issue 188. During a period where Peter and MJ were on a break from their on-again, off-again relationship, MJ brought star college quarterback Brad as her date to a group outing, leading to a lot of awkwardness. It didn't last though. After that one story, Brad was never seen or heard from again, until now. Spider-Man's classic black costume is famous among comic book fans and moviegoers alike, as the alien symbiote suit was featured in both Sam Raimi's 2007 film Spider-Man 3 and the 2018 smash hit Venom. But the new black suit Spidey wears in Far From Home also has its own secret past in the comics. In the 2004 series Secret War, Nick Fury recruits Spidey to help on a secret mission in Europe and gives him a special black stealth suit, which is exactly what happens in Far From Home as well. If only we can get that eagerly awaited Night Monkey spin-off movie. During Peter's initial meeting with Jake Gyllenhaal's Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, the supposed superhero spins a story claiming to be from an alternate reality where Earth's heroes failed and the world was destroyed. In what initially seems like a random word salad, Mysterio says that the MCU version of Earth is actually designated Earth 616, while his alternate reality has the designation Earth 833. Fans of DC's Arrowverse shows on the CW may recognize this as a joke about all the various alternate Earths in the DC multiverse, which are given designations like Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 37, and so forth.
Things must be different here.
Barry, where's there?
My Earth. Earth 9.
And that's totally true, but this particular joke actually originated in Marvel's Captain Britain series from the 1980s. The gag was that the Marvel universe was Earth 616 because it isn't any more or less important than any other universe, and the 833 designation is far from random either. In the comics, Earth 833 was indeed destroyed, and the only survivor was an alternate reality version of Spider-Man. At the very end of Far From Home, the final post-credit scene revealed that Nick Fury was actually Talos, the Skrull leader from Captain Marvel. Meanwhile, the real Fury is vacationing on a beach, which turns out to be just a holographic projection on a spaceship. The real Easter egg here, though, isn't the Skrulls at all. It's the fake beach. Fans of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. may recognize this sequence as a nod to Project Tahiti. After Agent Coulson died in Avengers, he was brought back using the blood of the sworn enemies of the Skrull. S.H.I.E.L.D. then implanted fake memories in Coulson, so he thought he had been recuperating on a beach in Tahiti, just like Fury. Well played, Marvel.
Yeah, well done.
At Spider-Man Far From Home, Spidey twins are made for a charity event aimed at helping people who have been displaced after returning to existence during the events of Avengers Endgame. Spidey has an awkward press conference. There's a cute exchange between Aunt May and Happy Hogan and a gigantic novelty check. It's fun. It's also a big nod to the comics, where Aunt May also runs a charity called Feast. Feast first appeared in the comics in 2008's Amazing Spider-Man issue 546, before making a prominent appearance in the 2018 PlayStation game Spider-Man. Cool. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite superheroes are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.
Okay, we'll have some more Spidey in a second. But yeah, like I was saying, guys, going over it. Going over it in some ink. Just basically going over what we've already drawn, giving it a in ink. And then afterwards, I'll get rid of all the construction lines underneath, all the shading to a degree. Certain shading I kind of want to keep there as well. But it is looking quite sketchy still. That's why we ink. We get rid of all sketchy lines where we've sort of gone over a line, changed the line, gone over a line, changed it. This is final. This is how it's going to look eventually, and will look and be able to be scanned in and digitized in a later date. Again, I am really sorry, guys, that my PC's not working still. One of the I had two graphic card, and one of them has decided to die. So yeah, I'm running on just one graphics card at the moment, or CPU, whatever you guys want to call them, but it's graphics card. It's sort of busted. It means that I can't record because it just doesn't have the power to do all that, as well as do the critter digitization. I will digitize them at a later date. It may be this week, maybe next week. But yeah, don't forget to keep tuning in, guys, for the digital version of this. I will share some of this on Instagram if you can't see this properly. And again, this camera here is a webcam. And if I had the second CPU, it wouldn't be so sketchy and it wouldn't be so like rub it around. That's why the live is a bit rough today. I do apologize for that. But hopefully you can see everything in there. Hopefully you're enjoying what you're listening to, and we'll get back on what we're doing. I will, when I switch to pens, I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing. But for now, I'm just going to go and outlining it with my 7.0.
My turn.
It's fair to say that even though the death of Tony Stark at the end of Avengers Endgame was heroic and saved the universe and all that, none of us were prepared to say goodbye to our favorite wisecracking genius billionaire scientist.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
The person who was most devastated by this loss, however, was probably Peter Parker. Since Spider-Man Far From Home takes place almost immediately after the events of Endgame, there were bound to be some big Tony Stark-related consequences. Watch out, if you haven't seen Far From Home yet, there are plenty of spoilers ahead. It goes without saying that the death of a character like Tony Stark is going to leave a huge hole in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in more ways than one. But because of the very personal relationship he developed with Peter Parker in Spider-Man Homecoming, Spidey is no doubt going to be feeling the impact even more. Which is exactly what we see at the beginning of Far From Home, a Peter Parker grieving the loss of his friend and mentor. He is so greatly hit by Tony's death that the movie actually starts with Peter wanting to avoid any Spider-Man heroics entirely in his grief, which is the first instance of how, even though he is no longer with us, Tony Stark is actually a huge part of this Spidey sequel. So much so that even when Nick Fury and Quentin Beck first ask for his help to take down the Elementals, Peter refuses and chooses instead to rejoin his class. If Tony had lived at the end of Endgame, pretty much none of this would happen, as the Peter Parker we know and love is one who was more than enthusiastic to jump into a battle and help take down the bad guys. Without the conflict of Tony's passing, the internal struggle of Spider-Man Far From Home would have been completely different. Iron Man's presence is felt so much throughout Spider-Man Far From Home that you could almost make the argument that he is actually the hero of the movie.
I'm the best.
Hear us out. One of the biggest plot points in Far From Home is the question of who will step in and take over where Iron Man left off.
You gonna be the next Iron Man then?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your job.
While there are a couple
That wasn't
of other
in the film,
possibilities
guys.
presented,
That bit
both
wasn't
Tony's
in the
assistant
film.
Happy and Nick Fury are pushing Peter Parker to step into the spotlight. You could make the case that without Tony's death opening up that possibility in the first place, then Peter Parker would never have been given the chance to set out on this brand new hero's journey. Not only that, but Peter is the only person who Tony decided to entrust the Edith technology to after his death. Out of every fully grown superhero he could have bequeathed his secret to, Tony actually chose Peter to carry on his life's work. And while Peter resists the call to action at first, Tony's instincts turn out to be totally right. And without that technology, Peter never would have been able to take down Quentin Beck in the end. So Tony Stark is actually responsible for Peter Parker's rise to true heroism. And since it's his technology that saves the day in the end, he might be the secret hero of Spider-Man Far From Home. But wait, if we're going to allow the possibility that Tony is the real hero of the movie, we can't ignore the fact that he might just be the biggest villain too. See, literally none of the conflict in the movie would have happened if it weren't for Tony. And Peter Parker might have actually just been able to go on vacation for once. It all goes back to Stark Industries and yet another wronged employee out for revenge. Quentin Beck was a former holographic illusion specialist for Stark Industries and the inventor of the unfortunately abbreviated BARF technology.
Retro framing, or BARF. God, I gotta work on that acronym.
But lame acronym or not, the technology is amazing and went completely unappreciated by Tony himself. Now Beck leads a group of other disgruntled former employees, left in Tony's scathingly sarcastic wake from over the years, who helped him turn into Mysterio and go about his very complicated plan to win Spider-Man's trust and steal the Edith technology for himself. Beck also makes a pretty good point during Far From Home when giving a speech about how irresponsible it was of Tony to leave such powerful technology in the hands of a teenager. Of course, Peter is more than just your average teen, but Beck isn't entirely wrong in questioning Tony's sense of responsibility. While we will always love Tony Stark for all that he is, we do have to wonder, was he actually the bad guy? But whether or not you think Tony is the cause of the destruction in Far From Home or the solution to it, you can't deny that his presence is felt in almost every scene of the movie, all the way to the murals painted of him on just about every wall across North America and Europe. In the most perfectly Stark-like moment, it is revealed that the acronym for the AI hidden in the beloved glasses he passes down to Peter, Edith, stands for "Even dead, I'm the hero," because he wouldn't be Tony Stark without getting in the final word.
Point is, you're welcome.
In a lot of ways, Spider-Man Far From Home echoes the very first Iron Man movie and serves more as a final farewell to a beloved character than anything else. This, of course, is very clear in the scene where Peter puts on the Edith glasses in order to build his new suit, to the exact same song that Tony listened to while constructing the original Iron Man armor.
I'll take care of the music.
Yeah.
I love Led Zeppelin!
On top of that,
Oh man, so many callbacks.
Scene puts Peter in exactly the same position as Tony was in the first Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
While Tony decided to reveal himself as Iron Man and Peter didn't, both movies end with our hero unmasked and stepping into a future that is completely unknown.
Meet Otto
Bert.
Hello. He searched for energy deals, so you don't have to. Just give him a few.
Shut up. No one cares.
No. While the Avengers banded together to work as a team on equal ground, it became clear over the years that Tony was really the glue that held all of these very different and often not well suited to work together superheroes together. While after the devastating events of Infinity War and the finality of Endgame, it was time for each Avenger to go their separate ways, we can't help but wonder if Tony's death wasn't the catalyst for the real end of the Avengers. At the end of Endgame, we see Thor off on an adventure in space with the Guardians of the Galaxy crew. Black Panther headed back to Wakanda. The Hulk too injured to fight again. Captain America jumping back in time to live a quiet life with his one true love. Black Widow is also dead, which weirdly no one seems to be talking about quite as much as Stark's death. Or at all, for that matter. And Hawkeye retired, we guess? Who knows about Hawkeye? Anyway, there's something so final about the death of Tony Stark lining up with the dismantling of the original Avengers that really makes it feel as though his death was the final straw. The one thing that the Avengers couldn't recover from and continue on after. Sure, maybe all the actors' contracts were up, but that doesn't sound very cinematic at all. We've already talked about how Tony Stark's death is the catalyst for most of the action and conflict in Spider-Man Far From Home, but it's possible that he actually had another hand in how things turned out without even realizing it. Since Tom Holland entered the Marvel Universe as the new Peter Parker, a lot of time has been spent establishing Tony as his originally reluctant mentor, and a huge figure in Peter's life and development into a superhero.
I think with a little more mentoring, it'd be a real asset to the team.
So much so that after Tony dies, our Peter doesn't really know how to carry on without him. Even after he's given the Edith technology, he immediately hands it off to Quentin Beck and actually grows really attached to him over the course of the movie. We have to imagine that if Tony had never died, Peter wouldn't have been searching for someone to replace the Tony Stark-shaped hole in his heart, and would never have trusted Mysterio as much as he would end up doing in Far From Home. Because while Nick Fury and Happy are really pushing Spidey to step into the Iron Suit, he instead turns to Quentin Beck and puts all of the responsibility of the technology in his hands, as though he himself could replace Iron Man, and maybe even step in and fill the gap left by the passing of Tony. The mid-credits scene in Spider-Man Far From Home left us all wondering, what's going to happen to Peter now that the entire world knows of his true identity? Like we mentioned before, unlike Tony revealing himself to be Iron Man at the end of a press conference by choice, Peter instead finds that a doctored video of himself has
End
been posted on
cutscene,
the
guys.
internet,
Gotta see it.
in which he is revealed to be the web slinger himself. We can safely assume that everything will change for him and those around him. And we'd bet that the new information is going to make going back to school a bit more complicated. But would that big reveal have even happened were it not for the death of Tony Stark? Probably not. See, Quentin Beck and his gang are entirely made up of grumpy former Stark Industries employees hell-bent on revenge. Because Tony is now dead, their only choice is to go through Peter, knowing that he has been given the Edith technology that they want to get their hands on. If Tony had never died, then Mysterio would have gone straight for Iron Man, basically cutting out Spidey's involvement in the situation entirely. And if Spider-Man hadn't been involved with the Elementals, there would have been no reason for J. Jonah Jameson to release that video in the end. Now that Spider-Man's true identity has been revealed, and now that he is the only one in possession of the Edith technology, and now that he isn't under the protection of one of the most notorious and powerful superheroes of all time, it's pretty easy to imagine that Peter is going to be visited by some seriously big bads in the coming years. Tony's death has left him in a truly vulnerable position. The whole world knows who he is, they know that the Avengers have disassembled, they know that he has something that could be extremely powerful and dangerous in the wrong hands, and they know that he is alone. Not to mention the fact that a ton of villains who have graced our screens are even more of those disgruntled Stark Industries employees. We've already seen Whiplash in Iron Man 2, Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3, and of course Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. Who's to say who else is out there, now poised and ready to go head-to-head with the newly vulnerable Spider-Man? Of course, we leave Far From Home with a newly confident Spider-Man with a brand new suit and a whole bunch of amazing technology at his fingertips, so even if every maniacal former employee of Tony's drops by for a visit, we're pretty sure our guy can take him. And now we're crying again. Come on, Tony, why did you have to go and be all heroic like that? What did you think of this list? Was Far From Home too influenced by Tony Stark's death, or did it pay homage to one of the best MCU characters?
Paid homage to set
Let
up
us
the
know in
next,
the comments below,
next
and we hope you have fun watching
superhero,
this
to be honest,
video.
guys. That's what I think. No, I definitely think that they're trying to make Spidey into Iron Man, and in the comics he has his own business and such. That might lead us into the Dr. Octopus story, where he takes over his body and his mind.
Etsy believes our belongings can hold value from the big day to the everyday. That's why Etsy is the...
It seemed like we were done with Thanos, but that might not be the case. Over the past few weeks, a few pieces of news have caught our attention, and we think they could spell the return of the Mad Titan. Don't believe us? Well, strap in as we dive into everything that suggests Thanos' involvement in the Eternals. So, who are the Eternals exactly? Well, the Eternals are a race of ancient characters created by Jack Kirby. Like the Inhumans, the Eternals are mostly humanoid, but live much longer, and each have special powers.
Okay, we're not learning about Eternals even. Let's check this out. Spoilers!
Hi everyone, it's Charlie. Hopefully you've had a chance to see Spider-Man Far From Home. I've gotten a lot of messages about possible references to some really big cosmic things, so I'll try to address that in this Easter eggs video. I'll also talk about what's going on with Marvel's Comic-Con panel, which is happening in a couple weeks. It's
Darkening out certain lines now, guys,
so
just to give it a shade and a shadow.
Stuff that they revealed during that. We're doing an Imax ticket giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a Spider-Man comment on the video. So obviously, spoiler warning, if you have not seen Spider-Man Far From Home yet, there are so many Easter eggs, so many references, but we have to talk about the post-credit scene and some of the really big ones. So in the final post-credit scene, it's revealed that Nick Fury is on the SWORD space station from the comics, teasing some really big Marvel Phase 4 cosmic things to come. It's probably one of the most mind-blowing things that they do with the movie. It starts as a funny joke, but then as you start to realize what it really means for the future, it becomes even crazier. So there's a line earlier in the film that now people are re-examining in this more cosmic context that seems like it's winking more at Silver Surfer. So before the big final fight between Spider-Man and Mysterio, Happy is flying Peter to London on the plane to stop Mysterio, save his friends. He reveals the special suit fabrication device hidden in the back of the plane. Peter starts making his new Steve Ditko Spider-Man suit while Happy plays the AC/DC Back in Black as an homage to Iron Man, listening to AC/DC and building his original Iron Man suits. They have that funny moment. I love Led Zeppelin because Peter doesn't totally understand all classic rock bands. As they approach the city, they need to warn Nick Fury and Maria Hill that Mysterio has been lying to them this whole time and he's behind the elemental attacks. But Mysterio is using the Edith glasses to monitor all their phones and communications, so Happy has to use a special secret code to let Nick Fury know what's really going on. So after Happy drops Spider-Man in the fake storm, he has that funny moment, we need to have a serious conversation about you and my Aunt May after this. Happy calls Nick Fury's phone to warn him, who has this funny reaction at the sight of Happy. Who the hell are you? Yeah, I know, let's get on with this. There's this big joke in the movie about Nick Fury and phones in general. Peter ducking his calls, ghosting him, sending him straight to voicemail. Mysterio even ghosts Nick Fury at the end of the film on the comms right before the big London Tower bridge fight because evil henchman he's been using to create all his dialogue doesn't come up with a new excuse for him to give Nick Fury fast enough. Well, that's some bullshit. But the thing that everyone's been calling the Silver Surfer Easter egg is Happy's actual coded message to Nick Fury. This is what he says. So the message is, apparently Mr. Stark was going through his belongings and there was a surfboard you left behind. People over there said Nick Fury's not really a surfer. Tony said appearances can be deceiving. Nick Fury responds with the corresponding coded answer to the message angrily saying, the surfboard isn't mine, don't ever call this number again, then hangs up. So everyone is just thinking that the mention of the surfboard is so utterly specific when they could have said anything in that message. That it's Marvel winking at Silver Surfer. He's a Fantastic Four character. There have been lots of rumors about a Fantastic Four reboot movie coming before they reboot the X-Men characters. You may remember talk about a Silver Surfer movie being in development or being talked about way back before Avengers Endgame came out. Kevin Feige actually did an interview clarifying that Adam McKay, who's done a lot of cleanup work on Ant-Man and earlier movies for them, helped them out with little minor jams that they've been in, has talked about wanting to do a Silver Surfer movie. This is the clip of Kevin Feige talking about that.
I spoke to McKay the other day. Adam McKay said, Silver Surfer movie, I might need to give Feige a call. Have you gotten the call?
I have not gotten a call yet, but I've seen Adam tonight and at a number of these awards, and he is not only, as everybody knows, an incredibly smart guy, he's an honest-to-goodness fan. Yeah. And he did a lot of sort of behind-the-scenes help with us on the first Ant-Man film. And have you seen Vice? Little cameo, little Galactus cameo in there that we helped him get. So I look forward to speaking with him more.
Is there a Fox property you're just excited to potentially get your hands on in particular?
The truth is, I'm excited for all of them. I'm excited, and it's not just the marquee names. There are hundreds of names on those documents, on those agreements, and the fact that Marvel is as close as we may ever get now to having access to all of the characters is something I've been dreaming about for my almost 20 years at Marvel, and it's very exciting.
So taking that all in, it's clear that Marvel is thinking a lot about Silver Surfer separately from X-Men and Fantastic Four stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of talks going on behind the scenes. So you could take that special coded Nick Fury, Happy Hogan message as a Silver Surfer Easter egg. But I also think part of that joke...
Okay, now guys, I'm using this pen to shade things in. I'm only using it ever gently. Going over shade that I've already put there. Because it's running out a little bit, it actually works to my favor.
And his wife to use their scroll powers to stand in for him on Earth and hand off Iron Man's Edith glasses to Spider-Man. Now, they had that big joke during the post-credit scene.
Adding in some shade there, it needs it.
We gave the kid the glasses like you said, but then things kind of went off the rails, and you really need to come back. People were asking, where are the Avengers? What do I tell them? I have no idea where the Avengers are. So Nick Fury's like, okay, fine, everybody back to work, chop chop. Has anyone seen my shoes? So if they're doing all this big cosmic stuff in the post-credit scene, would it make sense that they also have some funny cosmic jokes earlier in the film, too? The only issue I see with them doing Silver Surfer Easter eggs this early is that the movie was shot before the Fox Disney deal had closed, and until that had happened, they legally weren't allowed to reference or talk about any X-Men or Fantastic Four stuff. Yes, technically the rights to the Fantastic Four movies and those characters were never owned by Fox. They're owned by Constantine Films. It's just that Constantine Films had an ongoing long-term distribution deal with Fox. So when all the Fox Marvel characters came back to Marvel after the buyout deal closed, it's safe to assume that Marvel would have also made separate arrangements to secure the Fantastic Four characters. Even if Constantine Films were locked into a long-term distribution deal with Fox, that was all rendered moot when Disney bought Fox and the deal closed. Worst case scenario with the future Fantastic Four movies is that Marvel has to do a similar sharing deal with that studio as it does with Sony in the Spider-Man characters. Just to put that into context, right now, Sony is getting ready to have its first Spider-Man movie to make $1 billion worldwide with Spider-Man Far From Home. It's on track to earn $1 billion worldwide. All Marvel has to do when it negotiates with these other studios that still have some residual rights to certain characters is say $1 billion. Just hold up a sign with $1 billion on it and tell them you're never going to make this kind of money trying to make your own movie with these characters. So just let us use them however we want. We'll share some of the money with you, and you don't have to do jack shit. Just sit there and cash the checks that we send you. So moving into Comic-Con, Marvel just confirmed their big Comic-Con Hall H panel for Saturday night in a couple weeks. It's their normal night that they always do it on. It's going to be 90 minutes long. That's huge. That means Black Widow movie preview, maybe some footage because they're still filming it right now. Short preview for the Eternals movie. They haven't started shooting that yet, but it's supposed to be the next big movie in Marvel Phase 4 after the Black Widow movie next year. They might bring some Avengers back for a special celebratory moment on stage, like, look at all the awesome stuff that we did in the last 10 years. Probably a full schedule of Marvel Phase 4 films for just the next 4 years. We know what most of those are. Maybe they'll announce Spider-Man 3, which should come out in 2021, which is 2 years from now. We actually just got.
Can I just use my double-sided not Sharpie, my felt tip?
They weren't in Spider-Man.
Did that one?
But there are a couple of villains left over at the end.
Did a bit of shading. So now what we got to do? Take away all these construction lines and see what we're left with.
I've got some boys on the outside who would just love to meet him. You know, take a picture, slice his throat, put his head in the fire.
Don't worry, I'll do separate videos about Spider-Man 3 and the Spider-Man stuff happening in Marvel Phase 4 later this week. But they might also do a new preview for the Marvel Phase 4 Avengers spin-off TV series, like the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, where Falcon has already become Captain America, the Scarlet Witch Vision series, and then the Hawkeye series. They still have not confirmed that they're doing a Hawkeye series, but all the Hollywood trades have reported that it's in development, and even Jeremy Renner was talking about it at recent convention appearances. Very, very small chance that they announce when their Fantastic Four reboot movie is going to happen, or at least that they're working on it, even if it doesn't have a hard release date yet, which I don't think that it does. And maybe an updated timeline on what's going on with new X-Men characters coming in. But Kevin Feige already said that it would be a long time before X-Men characters started appearing in Marvel movies, so that might not happen until the very end of Marvel Phase 4, early Phase 5. Like, say, 4 or 5 years down the road. It's going to be a while.
Many secrets. Many secrets would be ideal. And I think the Disney marketing team is the best in the world, and we'll be able to pull it off.
So like I said, I'm working on a Spider-Man 3 teaser video and more Easter egg videos. Those will be coming later this week. If you have any big questions that you want me to do bonus videos about, just let me know in the comments. Congratulations, next Legacy.
I'm going to leave that to dry a second.
My last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Click here for the Spider-Man Far From Home post-credits scenes, and click here for the full Spider-Man Far From Home Easter eggs video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.
Okay, so yeah, we've gone over everything with the fine line is 7.8. We've gone through everything with my sketchy flat. Let's get rid of all of the construction lines from underneath.
Avengers Endgame with lots of laughs and a lot of what? To twist after twist. But the many Mr. X of Far From Home were part of its elaborate design. So join me as I rewatch and break down this Spider-Man film scene by scene to explore its deeper meaning and the many Easter eggs that director John Watts hid throughout this film. Spoiler warning if you haven't seen it yet, and let's get started. Okay, we open in the Mexican desert as Nick Fury and Maria Hill drive up to the ruins of the town of Ixtenco to investigate a cyclone that locals described as having a face. There they meet Quentin Beck, Jake Gyllenhaal. Now, it comes to no surprise to any Spider-Man fan that Mysterio is actually the villain of the story, but the exact nature of his plan is fairly well disguised. Though, of course, there are plenty of clues that Beck's battles with these elemental monsters are false Mr. X. And the first shows up right here. The license plate of the car beside Fury and Hill shows the number 463. Both in this movie and in Spider-Man Homecoming, John Watts is obsessed with hiding Easter eggs in license plates, including a recently revealed Howard the Duck reference in Homecoming that I spent way too much time hiding. 463 is most likely a reference to The Amazing Spider-Man number 4, which came out in 1960. 1963, which was the introduction of the villain Sandman. But this sand monster that they're fighting is not Flint Marco's Sandman. It's what that creator describes
all
as
those.
an elemental. So including this deliberate Sandman reference on the plate is a deliberate misdirect by the director. He's telling us eagle-eyed viewers, hey, good job, you think you found the truth, but that truth is a lie. He's saying trust nothing in this movie. Before I continue, thank you to Marvel Collect by Topps for sponsoring this breakdown. Marvel Collect is a digital trading card app, free to download, free to play, with a vast collection of cards from Spider-Man, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men, and more. You can download Marvel Collect from the iTunes App Store or Google Play Store worldwide, or use our download link
So
in the
that's all of the
description below. With Marvel Collect, you can collect, trade,
instruction lines got rid of, guys. What do you think? What we've left with is just the ink and just
cinematic universe of Marvel and the classic
shaded
Marvel
with
comics.
ink
So you can celebrate
afterwards.
the release of
Do you reckon
Spider-Man
it looks
Far From
good?
Home with a card of Peter
Let me know in the
Parker
comment
swinging through
section.
the
Again,
canal,
if you have made it
or
all the
a
way to
card
the
of
video,
Kate
end of the
Bishop.
video, thank you
And
very
if
much for doing
Hawkeye's
so.
trainee from the comics ever shows up on the big screen, you could be a
Thank you very much for doing so. If you want to see this in full glory, I will be posting this over on Sunday, as I always do, and I will be giving you out another vote what you want to do on Sunday. But there's still one more stage to this, and it's to colour this one in. We'll be doing that tomorrow, guys, so tune in for that one. I'm going to go and play some Spider-Man PS4 because there's been an update for some new suits. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hit down here and check out all the links. Click the links that will appear, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.